We're going to go ahead and call to order this meeting of the Citizens Redistricting Advisory Commission, Monday, July 25th, 2022. We'll go ahead and do a quick roll call. Mackenzie Colston.
Here.
Kathleen Field.
Here.
She's joining us via Zoom today. Michael Schnoll is not here. Amanda Sheridan.
Here.
And Alex Semchuk here. Okay. So next, I wanted to open up the floor to any of our other commissioners that are here today for any questions or issues. It's been a couple weeks since we've met, so just wanted to check in with all of you and see if you had any questions about any of the information that you've gone over, if you've had a chance to look at the maps, or if you had any other concerns from any of you. Nothing? Okay. All right, if there's nothing there, then we're going to go ahead and move on to Commissioner map presentations and discussion. I know that I did not receive any maps from the other commissioners here. Did any of you create your own maps?
Yes, I have.
You did? Okay. Do you have copies, or do you just have this one copy?
I just have the one copy.
Okay.
Let me make sure.
Stephen, how do you want to go about doing that? Do you want us to discuss it, or did you want to hold off on it until you can get it scanned
I'm
publicly?
trying to think of a way. We could quickly try to scan it so we can
Okay.
display it.
So it is this, and then here's the distribution, although it has some other notes on it.
Okay, great. You want to scan it both?
Thank you.
All right. So while that's going on, we'll come back to that. We did receive some submissions, so we're going to move on to item number 4 on the agenda, which is discussion of submitted maps and public correspondence. So in the packets, this is a summary of all of the maps that we were submitted from the public. The first set is a letter from Mr. Chuck Livingston. He attached 4 maps. And I just wanted to bring up a couple things in the letter. The second bullet point in the letter states that primarily the things that were used in the generation of these maps were to correct for compactness, which is not present in the current map. But he also makes a point of saying earlier that aside from balance, contiguity, and compactness, other things were not necessarily considered. And I know that these things that he highlights, such as neighborhoods, school districts, historical districts, etc., these are noted in the copy of the Bloomington Municipal Code that we were handed last time under redistricting criteria. To quote line 3, whenever possible, the Commission should avoid recommending districts that split communities of interest into multiple districts, including but not limited to political subdivisions, neighborhoods, school districts, historic districts, and other areas where residents share common traits and concerns. So as far as the population average and the desired maximum deviation, if we're going by those 2 standards, all 4 of the maps that were submitted by Mr. Livingston are acceptable within those 2 criteria. Have any of the other commissioners had a chance to look over those maps that were submitted along with the letter? Yes, you have. Any thoughts, any concerns, any questions, or anything else that you noticed while looking at those maps?
Let's see, the biggest thing I noticed about his letter, and I noticed the maps were really nice and compact, kind of like he was talking about, but also that he was talking about the Elm Heights neighborhood. And it's a map of the historical districts, which it doesn't necessarily align with where his specific neighborhood association is, but it gives kind of a general idea. So it is a little difficult to kind of superimpose this onto where, this would be, but there may need to be some adjustments made so that Elm Heights, since it does seem to be affecting someone where their personal neighborhood association isn't split anymore.
I'm told that someone, or from Kathleen, that the sound is cutting in and out from your mic, Alex.
Okay.
So I don't know if we want to maybe. Switch mics, I don't know.
Okay. All right. So the Elm, I've made a note of that. The Elm Heights and other neighborhoods. We want to make sure that we're not dividing those neighborhoods. Did you have a chance to look at the maps?
Briefly, yeah.
Okay.
I didn't have any concerns right now.
Okay. Okay. So I think going forward, before our next meeting, we should probably use our tools to take a look at these, at least for these four maps, a little bit closer, to account for those things such as the neighborhood districts, historical districts, school districts, to make sure that we can keep the population as balanced as possible while not splitting those districts. Kathleen, did you have any questions about the four maps that were submitted by Mr. Livingston in his letter?
I'm trying, I thought there were more than four.
Well, he submitted these were four maps for consideration for redistricting. He did also submit, Figure 5 was an example of the current non-compactness of one of the districts. And then Figure 6 was a bar graph showing votes in the last presidential, or the 2016 presidential election. And then we did receive also, as of today, I believe it was, the submission of several other maps. I want to say, was it 8? It was 8 maps. But as far as the first set of 4, Kathleen, did you have any questions or were there any concerns about those?
Sorry, you were cutting out just right at the end.
The first 4 maps that Mr. Livingston submitted, did you have any particular questions or concerns or comments about those?
Nothing particular.
Okay.
Are we going to go to a point where we're going to like talk about each of the submissions, or how are we going to be doing this?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we're doing right now. Yeah.
Okay.
So the next submissions were the set of, I believe, 8 maps that we received. Now the first map is, I'm not sure what the reasoning behind this was, because there were, District 6 has such a massive population compared to the other ones, so I don't know if that was just for example's sake or what, but as far as the other 7 that were submitted, once again, all 7 of them are within the maximum population deviation of under 10%.
Just a point of information on there. The way it appears this District R mapping tool is calculating the deviation seems to be that it's taking the district farthest away from the ideal population and comparing that district to the ideal population. What should happen is you take the largest district population, subtract the smallest, divide by the ideal population. So I believe all of the, setting aside the first map, I believe map 2, the population deviation there is just over 14% by my calculation. The others do fall under 10%, but they're a little higher than.
So then we need to go back and recalculate, is what you're saying.
I've got those figures. We were putting these together quickly this afternoon, but they range from 7 to 9% deviation. I can list them quickly if you'd like.
I think in the interest of having that information, we probably should do that.
Sure, and please feel free to check my math here. The first map, I calculated 528.76% deviation. The second map, I calculated 14.04%. There is some slight rounding for the 100th. The third map, I calculated 7.80% deviation. The fourth map, I calculated 7.01%. Map 5, I calculated 9.15%. Map 6, I calculated 9.21%. Map 7, 8.17%. And map 8, 8.01%.
Okay, thank you. Did the previous 4 maps need to be re-evaluated as well?
I did not recalculate those 4 maps. I'll just note in his letter, Mr. Livingston specified that he wasn't proposing those maps for consideration. Commission certainly wants to consider those, it could, but
Okay.
I'll go ahead and calculate those real quick.
Okay. So I'll ask my fellow commissioners, did anybody have any questions or any issues to bring up about any of the other maps that were submitted today?
What other maps were submitted?
The 7 that we're talking about.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Afterwards, I'd like to copy the corrected figures for this.
Sure.
I guess I have a question. I want to make sure I'm understanding. Are the colors, do they matter or do they not matter? Because there's some where like the purple's on the upper left and then on the lower right. And is that going to change districts, or is it just like it can be any, and we can assign, districts 1 through 6 from that? I guess I was just wondering if the intent was to like totally change.
Yeah, I don't think we want to totally change we don't want to move like District 1 to where District 6 is. I mean, I think we want to keep the city as close as possible. So I don't think, feel free to correct me, I don't think the colors really matter right now in terms of the hypothetical drawings, but we
Okay.
do want to know what district is where in each of these. But yeah, I did notice that too, that each map is, the colors are different.
Yeah, it looks like purple's always at the bottom, so I'm like, does that mean something? Is it supposed to mean something? It might just be when they start with one district, it starts.
Yeah,
blue.
yeah. Because even the first 4 maps that were submitted in Mr. Livingston's letter, there are definitely some color similarities, like I noticed with the purple and the green, but then, yeah, everything else is kind of different. So I think taking a look at these maps, obviously compactness is a major issue, and we want to be within the population balance underneath that 10% threshold of maximum deviation. So yeah, I think going forward, what we need to do is we can take a look, and we can keep all these maps on the table right now, and over the next couple weeks before our next meeting, we can go back, we can look a little bit more closely at the neighborhoods, at the other possible things like the school districts, obviously the voter precincts, and make sure that nothing's being chopped in half. I mean, if you go to I know one of our tools is the Bloomington website, the City of Bloomington website, and there you can do the different layers of the historic districts, the city districts, and our school districts. Any other questions or any other issues about the maps that that had been previously submitted? Okay. Did we get the electronic copy of her maps that she had?
Yes.
Okay.
And before we move to that, again, please feel free to check my math, anyone. For the 4 maps that were included in Mr. Livingston's letter, for the first map, I calculated 9.21% deviation. For the second map, I calculated 8.17% deviation. The third map, 8.01%. And for the fourth map, 9.15%. And again, that's the deviation between the largest and the smallest district compared to the ideal
average.
population. So,
Okay, great.
and if you give me just a moment, I can. Amanda, would you like, I just pull up the first page here? This page? Or is it the next one?
It's both of them. They are
Okay.
the same map, but one of them shows, let's see, the demographic balance, and the other one shows the math that goes into the population.
I see, okay.
What was the upper limit for deviation again? Was it 14? Was it?
10, I believe.
Okay.
I believe it was 14,290 roughly is the most it could possibly be.
Okay.
Oh,
That would-
the raw population.
So here, I'll just, this may,
What I did on my map here was I just moved Perry 1 from, let's see, the overpopulated district and into the central district there, so that there would be the fewest number of changes and people that were having to vote in a different area. But now that we know, let's see, that there may be another place, the Elm Heights, that needs to be moved, then that might affect it a little bit. But the other option that I kind of saw was the district right above Perry 1. If that one for some reason doesn't work out, I think that would still be within the, or according to the computer, which had the wrong math, that could be within the limits, or maybe some combination.
so as is, I calculate 9.9% deviation.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's within the 10% guidelines.
Sure. I know one of the issues that was brought up in Mr. Livingston's letter was the dark green district in the middle, where it kind of jets out in between the within the other two, or within the purple district there. So that might, I think that's something that we need to take a look at to see if there's a way we can redistribute that in some way.
Do we have information on why they originally did that?
So that's Perry 7.
The packet from your organizational meeting had a copy of the report of the council's 2012 redistricting committee. There are minutes in there that don't provide a lot of context, but give a bit of some of the discussion that was going on at the time. I don't know that there will be information in there that answers that question specifically, but
And that, yeah, that is part of the, I mean, that's the Elm Heights thing that we're talking about. Or at least near it. Because, yeah, that breaks it up into different districts. So that is something that I think we want to try to eliminate that little jettison there, because that's it is splitting up at least the district or the neighborhood. Yeah, and again, I'm using the tool on the bloomington.in.gov website, which if you layer it, you can divide the whole city into neighborhoods, school districts, historic districts, all that. And I think that's going to be a valuable tool going forward. Before we make our recommendation, whether it's based on any of these maps that we have or anything else that we design or anything else that gets submitted before our next meeting, is just getting in there and making sure that we're not splitting up any districts that should be kept together.
From looking at the submissions that we got as late as today, but at these, there was one, I don't know how to refer to it other than its plan number.
Sure.
134902. And I thought that map for compactness and like irregularity of jutting and stuff was, if it meets the requirement for max deviation, was I thought a very good representation of compact districts. It kind of changes and shifts from where things are now, but in a way that I thought made sense with like geography in the districts. Open to other people's, but as far as, you know, avoiding really irregular shapes and sort of long phalanges into other areas, I thought it did a really good job.
Yeah, map number, 134902, that is the third map that we were submitted today. And that has a max population deviation based on the math that was just done of 7.80. So it would be valid in terms of that regard. Yeah, that's the one we're looking at right now.
Like the whole, I guess like the purple district in there is gonna look weird, that's just what our districts we have to work with look like. So
Right.
that sort of bottom left quadrant, like no matter what we do, it's gonna look a little weird over there, but then for
Yeah.
the rest of it, they seem to like play Tetris in a way that made sense.
Yeah, and I mean, the town limits are a little weird, I mean, when you look at it. So, yeah, we're gonna have at least one district. The lower left district is always gonna be a little, looks like it went through the paper shredder a little bit, but yeah, as long as we're allowing for all the other requirements here. I'm just looking right now at this this map that we're all looking at within the context of some of the other aspects of the town, such as the other, like the historical districts. It seems like it does get rid of that jettison section in the middle, but I honestly...
Perry 7.
Yeah, Perry 7, but I can't tell honestly from this, because I don't have the same exact overlay, if it's still cuts through a neighborhood or not.
I don't want to speak for IT, but if there are specific maps that you're interested in and you would like to see in more detail with some of these additional layers added onto them, and the tools, the mapping tools you've got available are difficult to navigate, I think IT has offered to create any maps that you all would like to see. So
Okay.
if any of these proposals or others catch your interest and you'd like to see them in a larger format with some of these other layers added on, historic districts, neighborhoods, we can set that up and provide those ahead of any
The
discussion.
next meeting. Okay. Wonderful. I think that would be helpful. so that we're not going back and forth between the different website tools. If we could just get it all in one place, I think that would make our jobs a lot easier, and I think it'd be a lot easier for everybody else to follow along. Any other discussion from the commissioners about the maps that have been submitted already?
I did notice on some of them. Okay, on our current map, I noticed that it normally keeps IU pretty much together, and I think that represents, the academic community has one set of views politically that might be different from, others in town. And when you extend that, I don't know if people that would be then included in with the academic more community, would they see that as like maybe representing their views, like an opportunity? Oh, look, this is fine. We get to choose between two candidates. Or would they look at it like, other people have a different idea of what they would want if they were to vote in with that district? So just when it extends very far west, like the last one did.
Mm-hmm. So that's something we can definitely consider going forward, is, since the goal is to be as fair and distributed as possible, is there is there a city interest and a voter interest in making some changes there? Any other questions or issues from our commissioners based on the maps that have been submitted already? Okay, I hear no other questions or comments. So then let's go ahead and move on to establishment of our plan going forward. So first of all, we had previously, I don't know if this was set in stone or if this was more just for planning's sake, we had set our next meeting for Tuesday, August 9th at 9:30. Is that still an agreeable and available time for our commissioners? Kathleen, yes?
Yes.
Okay, good.
That was 9:30 a.m.
9:30 a.m., yes, thank you.
August 9th, you said?
Yes, Tuesday, August 9th, 9:30 a.m.
I can still do that.
Okay.
What meeting room will it be in?
This room.
This
This
one
would be
here?
this one?
Okay.
What is this room called?
McCloskey Conference Room, 135.
Now, was that the time where you said you couldn't make it, or you could but virtually?
Possibly either. It
Okay.
would require staying up pretty late, but I may still remote in.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and make that, we'll confirm that as our next meeting day and time. I believe we also said that that is going to be our deadline for public submissions. Is that still agreeable for other commissioners? Okay. So we'll make a note to, I don't know if we want to send out a release or just some other public notification that if anyone else who still wants to submit maps for this, they should be submitted. Do you want to submit it to the city council, or?
There was a press release sent out, I believe, the day after your last meeting
Mm-hmm.
that went to the news media and listed August 9th as a date by which members of the public should submit proposals
Okay.
to guarantee that the commission would receive those. So we're happy to, if the commission feels a reminder is warranted, we could send out another email blast, but there was a press release already sent out.
Okay. All right, so that deadline still remains, so we'll, that'll give us a chance to take a look at any other new maps that we receive. So I think going forward, what we can do is individually take a look at the maps that have been submitted and see if there are any outstanding issues as far as divisions of neighborhoods, school districts, historic districts, etc. And we can bring up any of those issues at our next meeting. Since we will be likely getting new maps before that meeting, I don't think we will be ready to make a recommendation at that meeting since we'll be getting brand new maps, but I think setting that as the public deadline, going forward, we'll have at least, I would think, one more meeting, possibly be ready to make a decision then. I don't know, do we want to go ahead and try to put another date in the books for after that meeting? Do we kind of know what our availability is, or do we want to? Okay. Okay.
Well, while you're looking at that, I'll just encourage any commissioner who's interested in a particular map and would like a bit more detail on a map proposal to reach out. Let us know. We can have IT set that up for you. So if you see any that you're interested in, if you've drawn one up that you're interested in and would like that shown with any of those different layers added on top, again, our IT department can help set that up. So mapping tools are a good starting point, but if you're honing in on a particular proposal, we can show whatever information you're interested in.
Okay.
I believe.
Okay. So yeah, before our next meeting, we'll do a little bit of analysis on each of the maps. If there are any that I know Kathleen picked out one that she said looked really good. So it could be that map or any of the other ones, as long as the ones that we have, and then we can bring those issues to our next meeting. So personally, I'm thinking our next meeting, the one where we might make a proposal, should probably be the week of August 22nd, since our deadline is 2 weeks after that, September 7th. So with that in mind, if we need to have like another, I don't want to say emergency meeting, but maybe one final meeting that last week of August into September, I think that'll give us a little bit of time. So as far as the week of August 22nd, what does everybody's schedule and availability look like? I'm pretty much wide open. Not good? Okay.
Tuesday and Thursday nights aren't good, but I have like the Monday, I don't know, Fridays are good for people, but Monday's good for me. Morning meetings, I'm pretty flexible. Just Wednesday's not my best
Okay.
day.
Okay. And is yours kind of remaining the same availability wise?
Sure, because my classes will start up again, like my next semester.
Okay. And you don't have your schedule picked out yet, though? Okay. Kathleen, what about yourself?
Pretty open availability except for Friday morning that week.
Except for Friday morning, okay. All right. So can we do a Monday evening, perhaps? The 22nd?
I can.
Kathleen, does that work for you, Monday evening, the 22nd?
Yes, that'd be fine.
Do you want to do something like this, 7:30? You want to
Yeah.
move it up to a little bit later?
I can do
Okay.
either one, actually. I can do earlier or later.
Okay.
I'd like later, to be honest.
You prefer later?
I
Okay.
do.
7:30, Kathleen, does that work for you?
That'll be fine.
Okay. So based on availability, we'll mark down Monday, August 29th at 7:30 p.m. right here in the conference room, the McCloskey room.
29th or 22nd?
I thought you said 22nd.
I'm sorry, 22nd. I apologize. Thank you, Stephen. 22nd. Monday, August 22nd at 7:30 p.m. here in the McCloskey Conference Room for meeting number 3. 4, technically.
Yeah, if there are members of the public watching, there's a scheduled meeting August the 9th at 9:30 a.m. as well. So the next 2 meetings would be August 9th at 9:30 and August 22nd at 7:30 p.m. And again, for the commissioners, if there are particular proposals you want to look at in more detail, just let staff know so that we can prepare those materials ahead of time. Happy to help get anything put together that you'd like, but just to make the best use of everybody's time, if you reach out in advance, we can distribute everything in advance, and you all will have time to look
Have
at
it
that.
visible, yeah. Okay. And what I'll do is I'll send out a reminder email since we're all on the group list with the city council before the weekend preceding the meeting of the 9th, just so that they'll have time to construct everything. Okay, so we have that set up. We're going to move on to public comment. So Stephen, I don't know if you're managing the meeting, if there's anyone that wants to comment on this evening's proceedings.
Yes, if any members of the public are on the meeting and would like to comment, I know we have several on Zoom. If you would like to speak, please use the raise hand feature to indicate if you'd like to comment. You can find the raise hand feature under your control bar by clicking on the Reactions tab or the More tab. And if you're not able to locate that, please send a chat to the meeting host to let us know you'd like to speak. And I do see 2 hands raised at the moment. And first up is Chuck Livingston.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I don't want to say much. Thank you for looking at my letter. Just a couple comments. I did not attempt to analyze the maps within real scrutiny because I was not aware of the balance and interest you had in the various recommendations. How concerned are you about school districts, about neighborhood associations, historic districts? I don't have the good tools to look at that, so before I got into it, I wanted to know your relative interest in that. Your charge also asks you, or doesn't limit you, to those in terms of communities of interest. So, other than those 3, well, I guess there are 4, political subdivisions, neighborhoods, school districts, historic districts. Are there any other communities of interest that you will be focusing on? Another question is, it does suggest you can consider promoting political competition. And I didn't hear any discussion about that issue. Of all these, I have mixed views about most of them, but this is one particular issue. I have personal doubts that it serves political competition to have districts in which almost no one votes. Before I start computing the voting rates in various districts, I'd like to know if you aren't going to consider voting rates and such, there's no reason to put that into the planning. Other than that, I have just one comment. To check the I'm a mathematician, so I focus on certain things. If you draw your own map and you look at the smallest population and add 1,320 to that, if it comes out bigger than the biggest, you're in good shape. It's much easier than taking a difference and dividing. You just add 1,320 to the smallest. That's all. I'm looking forward to hearing as you lay out your priorities. I find out more about what you're going to focus on, and then I'll work on more maps. Thank you again.
Thank you, Chuck. Yeah, and for the record, yeah, 1320 is 10% of the balanced population, the ideal population. So he does make a good point there. Yeah, and part of our redistricting criteria, Chuck, is to quote it, where it does not negatively impact the above criteria, which you mentioned, political division or subdivisions, neighborhood, school districts, historic districts. Districts shall be drawn to encourage political competition. So yeah, that is definitely something that we are weighing as well.
And next up, I see one hand raised. Regina Moore should be able to unmute now.
Thank you. I don't want to sound like a know-it-all, but Stephen knows that I've done this, I've participated in this process a couple of times, and with my political experience, know pretty much the lines of the precincts as they're drawn through the city. When at the map that had Perry 7 on it, Perry 7 is like a little extension, like a little finger. The second map that you looked at, which got rid of that, took Perry 7 and put it into the university area with regards to the fact that Perry 7 is the line between, that's Perry 7 is 3rd Street. It's the line between the university and Elm Heights. So I think that you should move it down a bit. And in fact, I think this is the approach that you should take on looking at all of your maps. Look at what communities are there. And yes, Elm Heights has 3 different state representatives. And that's just the way it's going to be. It's a huge area, geographic area, when you consider the density of the population there. And while I'm thinking about population is what you should be looking at. And I know Chuck thinks that voting should be considered, but I think that if you stay away from voting, you're gonna be staying away from a lot of problems when people think that you're throwing something one way or the other from one political party or the other. I would stay away from voting in general. In the past, the philosophy of the council who did the redistricting was that every one of the district representatives should have a little portion of student population within their district, so that every council member had some students that they could go to, or that could actually go to them and talk about student issues. And that, or issues regarding students, parking, trash, these kinds of things that when you're in an apartment, you look at. But actually, in the past, those were certain areas of the city. Now I believe that you can find students in every district of the city, every area of the city, on almost every street of the city. So I don't think that that particular carving up of the university residence halls really quite holds as much as it used to in the past. So I do like an overall generalization like that. I also offer myself, if you have questions or if you want me, if anybody wants to talk to me about this, I'm happy to sit down with you and explain some of the things that we thought of in the past. I know that Stephen, I saw that you had all the old maps from the past scanned, or you had scans of them, and that's a good thing. I don't know if they were annotated in any way with some notes on the sides or what, as to why one map was thrown out over another map, but something like what we just talked about, that Perry 7 going from the finger into the university area, that's making sense to you. I think that would be, to understand why certain maps were thrown out and others weren't, that would be good. Unfortunately, well, I think you can look at almost any map and go, why is this line here versus that line there? So do the best you can. I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with, and if there's any way that I can help you, if you think that I can be of any assistance, just let me know. Thanks for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And yes, if members would like to take a look at any of the proposals that were being considered back in 2012, we have electronic files I don't remember seeing any annotations on any of those maps, but if it's helpful, we can make those available to any of you, the public. So that, along with any other information you think would be helpful, please just let us know, and we'd be happy to make that happen. I don't see any additional public comment at the moment. If we get any additional written comments, oh, I'm sorry, in the room. Yes, sorry.
So first off, my name is Dave Askins. I'm with the B-Square Bulletin. 3 points. One, the nutty map that was, I think, showed one of the districts having almost all of the population. I apologize if that's one that I passed along. I told my readers that I would pass along any maps that they submitted, and I seeded the repository with 3 maps that were clearly no serious person would ever think that anybody was honestly proposing that. And I may have inadvertently failed to winnow out all of them. So it's nice that whoever compiled them didn't just say, well, that's crazy, let's get rid of this, but that would have been fine. I apologize.
No, that's okay.
I apologize if that's why that map is there. I fear that it might be my fault. Second, in the same vein, I think that it's possible that some of the maps that I forwarded will be duplicates with the ones that Professor Livingston forwarded to you. He sent 4 maps to me, and I just forwarded them on to you. So he sent you maps directly. They might be the same maps, they may not be, but be alert to that so that you don't think that somebody is just duplicating things. And then finally, if it is the case that some of these maps are going to be sucked into the city's tool, it would be nice, and I apologize to the representative from the IT department for possibly right now making more work for you, but it would be nice from my point of view if you could do a calculation on compactness for each of the resulting districts. Because tonight, even, I heard one of the possible maps described as having nice compact districts, and when I looked at them, I said, wow, no, they're not compact at all. And unless you have some kind of objective measure of the compactness of a district that can be computed, it's not going to be possible to have a sensible conversation about maps and their compactness of districts. So, I mean, the first step would be, I mean, there's different ways of computing compactness, and I think it would be useful for the commission to figure out which method you want to use, and then task IT with, running the geospatial analysis on each one of those things and computing a column with a number that tells you how compact it is. So it would save me a lot of work because I will do this if IT doesn't. So I hope IT would do it, but I mean, IT's not going to do it unless you guys tell them. So that would be my request. Tell them what you want. And I hope that you want a measure of compactness. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
And we did have one additional public comment over Zoom chat from Sam Dove. And Sam says the maps need to teach by teacher to tell where people live in the town on the right dots. So if there are other messages that we get, again, we'll compile those like we've done today and share those with you all, post those on the commission's website. As we get closer to that August 9th deadline, hopefully we'll get submissions ahead of that meeting, but like we did today, if we get maps the day of, we'll do our best to compile those and make those available. Like Mr. Askins suggested, if you let us know and IT know what information you all would like to see in any further maps, that'll just help have that prepared ahead of time with plenty of space for you all to take a look at it before your next meeting.
Okay, any other business? Okay, if there is no other business, I move for adjournment. Do we have a second? Second? Okay. Next meeting is, just for the record, August 9th, which is a, whoops, on my calendar. It's Tuesday, August 9th at 9:30 a.m. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone.